A long-running dispute from New York taxi cab owners has apparently come to an end, as the New York taxi cab owners have lost a long-ranging court battle over the existence of Uber. So Uber has been in place for quite a long time at this point and was noticeably impactful on cities like New York and the cabs of New York, because suddenly all these cabs suddenly had a lot of competition. And that was really bad for business. Also really bad for the amount of money that taxi cab owners were paying to own the cabs. So they were very expensive, extremely expensive, as we're going to learn in the story. And so they were really upset about losing their investment. But the appeal court has seemingly put an end to this issue and said you can't sue, even though it means you're losing literally millions of dollars each. Let's learn more. A group of cab owners had spent years trying to sue the city for failing to act in good faith when auctioning off taxi medallions, permits that allow taxis to operate. So in New York, as many other places, to run a taxi, you of course need to get licensed. The taxi cab itself needs to be licensed, in addition to the person running it, the cab itself. And New York, by law, said, here's how many licenses we're going to give out. They put a number on it. This is how many total licenses exist. And as a result of that, people wanted them because there was, there was a guaranteed, or so it seemed, guaranteed customer base, and also would prevent other people from coming into place. So it was considered to be an investment. And that investment, of course, has come to an end. The Court of Appeals in New York has unanimously ruled against the cab owners, the court finding the city was under no obligation to keep in place any rules limiting ride sharing. So, of course, there were no rules with ride sharing, when they first created the thing, because the concept of ride sharing didn't really exist. Uber came along and changed that. So they did have a system where the taxi cabs were basically the only method of getting this kind of transportation, and it was enormously profitable. And then said, okay, in addition to having the limited medallions, which they are still limited, so in addition to having the limited medallions, how about unlimited ride sharing? And this made the taxi cabs, obviously, revenue go down substantially. And they were sad. In a statement, the spokesperson for the city said the court ruling rightly recognized taxi owners could not sue. We are grateful that the state's high court had put to bed this lawsuit. Oh, and this is nice too. In the auction terms, this is a nice one. The auction terms included this following thing on the bid forms. So the city of New York on the bid forms made them sign this statement in order to bid. In order to participate in the auction, you had to sign this. So the people who bought the medallions signed the following thing. I certify that I have not relied on any statements or representations from the city of New York in determining the amount of my bid. I understand and agree the city of New York has not made any representations or warranties as to the present or future value of any taxi cab medallion, the operation of a taxi cab as permitted thereby, or the present or future application or provisions of the rules or applicable law, other than the warranty clear title of the medallion. Qualifying bidders, therefore, I acknowledge that no warranties are made, express as applied, as to any other matter other than title. We are not warranting, the city of New York is not warranting the provisions or law, only title. Only title. So you bought exactly what you thought you were buying. It just turned out to be worthless. Oops. Thus, that brings us to the end of this discussion regarding the taxi cabs. The medallions for the cabs were selling for about $1.3 million each at the time that Uber came into existence. That's how much they were. The taxi cab themselves had to get a license. The license came in the form of this thing called a medallion. It's a license, but we gave it a special name. We called it a medallion, which I guess makes it seem fancy. How much was the medallion? About $1.3 million, because it was a guaranteed revenue stream for the taxi cabs. They would get this medallion and put it on the taxi, and then they would have basically all the people that wanted to get around the city by hailing cabs or hailing cars. There's always, of course, the subway system in New York, but if you wanted to get a ride from a taxi, you had to get a taxi, and these taxis to run $1.3 million. It took to buy a medallion for a taxi each. And then Uber came along, and the city's like, we're not going to do anything about this. How about $0? How about $0 to run an Uber? I mean, initially, the regulations got a little bit more strict after the fact, but initially $0. And even today, I think it's basically de minimis compared. And all these people who had invested millions of dollars, millions upon millions of dollars in the taxi cabs were really, really sad, because suddenly their medallions were worth significantly less. I mean, not zero, but significantly less, because now people have options beyond getting the yellow cabs. They can get the ride share. So their investments went down a lot. And they sued, and the appeal court's like, no. The rules for medallions are the rules for medallions. And the fact that New York has this thing called rideshare now, well, you were never guaranteed no competition. And now that there's competition, well, that's unfortunate, but you can't sue. So all these taxi cabs are now, not as profitable as they once were because of this competition. And that, for the moment, brings us to the end of discussion of this story.